Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems again, and welcome to another Monster Energy Supercross, the game official track gameplay for 2018 Supercross. The 2018 Seattle Supercross is on the schedule this week, and I have once again replicated it in the track editor to be able to play, and maybe you guys could try it out as well, but if not, you can at least watch this video and see what the track is supposed to look like this weekend. And not saying that this replica is most perfect replica ever, but it at least shows off the track, and that's why I like doing these videos. I also, in these videos, as per usual, discuss some of my real life Supercross opinions, thoughts, general musings, or whatever you can think about. But talking about this track first, very unique track with this whole back and forth across the start straight thing that they got going this week. They don't actually use much of the start straight, and if I'm honest, I don't think they're even going to do that back and forth thing, because usually when they try to build something like that, they realize pretty quickly they run out of room. But if they do, that's cool. If not, I don't really know what else they could do to make the race or the track itself longer, because otherwise it's almost kind of like an arena cross track with a little extended version on the back. It's a pretty small track. Lap time's probably going to be pretty small for this week. And it will be really small if they get rid of that switch back across the start straight. But yeah, Seattle's always an interesting race because the dirt is always very soft, and last year it was like moon dirt. This year I really don't know. I haven't been able to check ahead yet and see if the weather forecast is going to be different. In fact, I haven't been able to do much of anything. As you guys may have seen, we've kind of died down at the end of this last week with videos on the channel. As you can maybe hear, I was a little bit sick, so I'm still kind of getting over that. But hopefully get back on schedule and bring more Supercross and MX's ATV and MX Simulator and Descenders and Baja and all sorts of different stuff. But yeah, in regards to Seattle, there's a pretty good chance that before, after, or sometime during, there will be rain, just because that's what happens in Seattle. It rains a lot. So I don't know necessarily this weekend if we're all clear of that, or if we're going to get a torrential downpour or what, but it definitely will change up the track surface if it rains a lot. If it doesn't rain at all, it still seems like it's going to get the track pretty moist and damp, because they always get the dirt from who the heck knows where. But it, like last year, it was really strange. It rutted out bad, and I don't know. Seattle's always been one of those weird races where the dirt breaks down really bad. So expect that again this weekend, so you can kind of judge that based off of this track layout of how much it's going to break down. The whoops will probably get pretty non-existent at some point. The rhythm sections will probably turn into some double stuff. The Supercross triple should be doable on both ends of the track, but otherwise I feel like it's a fairly straightforward layout minus the switchbacks across the start straight. So pretty cool track design with the switchbacks. Without it, pretty boring in my opinion, but whatever. Should be a good weekend of racing. And coming into this weekend, after the weekend off for Easter break, the 1 week off that they get all year during Supercross, we're heading back to West Coast officially Supercross. But before I want to dive into the whole coming back west thing, I want to break down what happened at the Indianapolis Supercross, which was the first of two 250 East-West shootouts we're going to have all year. And of course the 450 race as usual, but I'll start with the 250s and some thoughts on that this week. As you may or may not have heard, but Jeremy Martin, who did actually win the 250 East-West shootout in Indy, was docked or penalized, whichever you want to call it, 7 points. He was still given the race victory, so the race victory points didn't go to anybody else, but he was penalized 7 points because he rolled and then doubled on the red cross. So there's a, if there's a Supercross triple, red cross flag is out, red lights are on the Supercross triple. You have to roll all 3 jumps, and you're really supposed to roll the rest of the section too, but I think they usually let people get away with jumping through the rest of the section if they get past the scene of the accident. But Martin didn't do that. He rolled the beginning of the Supercross triple and doubled out. Now, I kind of lean a little bit on the side of like, that's crap, because the reason Martin rolled and then doubled out was because he rolled over the first phase, of the Supercross triple and looked ahead and saw, wait a minute, there is nobody on the track. Why is the red cross out? This is ridiculous. So with the race being as close as it was, Luke Renzen only being a few seconds back, and Martin having a tough enough time winning Supercross races as it is, I can kind of understand why he decided, okay, there's nobody in front of me, I'm good to go, I'm going to double out and try to, maintain my gap, because it very likely could have been that they pulled the red cross immediately after he went by, and then, Rensland, who is only a couple seconds back, could do the Supercross triple no problem and gain easily a couple seconds, if not more, by doing that. So I can understand where Martin came from. Obviously, rules are rules. He, kind of has to get penalized in some sense because he did jump on the red cross flag. But I feel like the topic we need to be talking about here more than anything is just the absolute ludicrous lack of understanding or consistency or just anything good about flaggers when it comes to Supercross. I see all the time red cross flags out, nobody in the lanes, nobody on the track, nothing, just completely clear lanes. And I think that happens because there's a really stark lack of communication between each individual that's waving a flag. So if you're waving the red cross flag in front of the Supercross triple, you can't see behind the Supercross triple. So there very well could have been a completely clear track behind it, but he can't see that. And because it takes him so long to communicate between the flaggers, he probably should have pulled the red flag already and been out of the way. But I get it, red cross flags are good because it slows the pace of the race down, which allows it to keep going if there's a very injured rider on the track. And the red cross is really for any track worker that isn't a rider. If they are in the track, the red cross comes out. For the riders, it's always yellow flags. But the second a track worker comes onto the track, they have to pull the red cross. And I get it, like safety reasons, I get it. But they have to do a better job of when the track is officially clear, pulling the cross flag, turning the lights off. Like they're so delayed on that. Sometimes I've seen it, like in the practice sessions during the day when I go to a Supercross event. I'll sit by a Supercross triple and literally watch the red cross turn on when someone stalls it in a corner. Not even track workers out on the track, just someone stalled it in a corner after a Supercross triple. He gets it going after 10, 15 seconds, pulls away. The red cross flag stays out for another lap. I don't get it. It's ruining people's laps. They come by every lap. I see people waving their arms up like nobody's out there, like pull the red cross. But again, no communication going on, so these guys are just sitting here waving the flag as if something's going on, but there's clearly not. And I guess that's kind of my rant on it, but like it sucks for Jeremy Martin that he gets penalized for it, because I think he kind of did the right thing. He went over the jump, he saw nobody was in the track, and in order to try to maintain his lead, he doubled out. I mean, it's breaking the rules by the book, but like he also kind of had a legit reason, because there was nothing on the track. Like if they're gonna be so strict in the rule books about this, they have to be like really good when it comes to the flagging. So it sucks for Jeremy Martin. I get it. He needed to be penalized because he broke the rules within the rule book. But if I'm the AMA here, or the FIM, or Feld, or anything, any promoter of the sport, I would not let these flaggers and the officials that help the flaggers out get a week off this weekend. I would have taken them to school and had them figure this crap out, because it's costing championship, potentially race wins, all sorts of different stuff of these riders who are getting paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to compete and show off these brands of motorcycles, and it's simply just because they're too dumb and can't wave a flag correctly. Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting mad about it, but I'm calling it as it is. They mess this up all the time. The flagging has always been atrocious in Supercross, but it needs to be fixed. Like, there has to be a better way around this. And so that's why I will stand up and defend Jeremy Martin a little bit here, because I think what he did was kind of the move that he needed to do, or the right move, and it sucks that by the rule book it was the wrong move and he's going to get penalized for it. But behind that, and onto a good note, we have to give huge credit to Luke Rensland, who finished on the podium for the first time in his career, which doesn't usually happen in a 250 East-West shootout, that someone has a huge ride like that when they're facing half the competition for the rest of the season, and then they break out in the shootout. But kudos to Rensland, fastest lap of the main event, stuck pretty close to Martin most of that race, like kept him honest for a little while. Because he's running the fastest laps, it really seemed like he could reel Martin in. It didn't work, but he was keeping it close, and then he kind of faded at the end, and AC got him with a lap to go, so still ended up third. But you know, that's kind of a huge deal because he was really going up against the better of 13 or so factory bikes that night, with all the TLD and PC and Star guys there, and you know, Rockstar Husky with Osborne and Moseman and Harrison, and like there's just tons and tons of factory guys, and he's just on that, you know, little Traders Yamaha effort run by Skip Norfolk, which is they've been doing really well, and kudos to them to come through, and Renzlen having a great ride for them, and like that was just awesome to see that, you know, he kind of found a little bit of that potential that's been hiding, and maybe he'll turn it into some more consistent rides up front. Obviously, in his case, it's a little bit of a bummer that they went into such a long break because he's on the East Coast and we're going west this weekend, but still really cool story to see. And for Cianciarulo's sake, got up there from a bad start and finished second. He was with Savacci for a while, and then Savacci crashed, and Savacci finished, I think, 9th or so. Like, just not a good night for Savacci, which could have been a lot better because it looked like he might have had an opportunity to gain on Plessinger after Plessinger goes down in the first corner, but then, you know, that all goes to hell. So Plessinger able to keep the points lead, extended on Savacci, but AC obviously closed up a little bit more there. McElrath was kind of a non-factor most of the night. So for the West guys, it looks like it's really coming down to Savacci, Plessinger, and Cianciarulo, which I kind of had expected a little bit anyway. I never really thought that Justin Hill would get up in there. I think I really kind of expected McElrath to fall off, and then obviously we lost Christian Craig to the 450 class, so the West kind of got blown wide open. So I think it's going to be AC, Savacci, and Plessinger. And I said all along that if Plessinger could escape the shootout with a 7th or a better, that I thought he would be the champion. I changed my mind a little bit after San Diego, and he had a rough week, but coming out 4th in the shootout, and then he's got 2 tracks that are going to break down really gnarly towards the end of the year here with Seattle and Salt Lake, and he loves those conditions. He was dominating Salt Lake last year before he crashed out. I find a really hard point to prove, I guess, that Plessinger might not win this championship, but who knows? Cianciarulo's looked great. He's clawed his way back into this championship, and we saw he won the East-West shootout last year in Vegas, and nearly won the East title because of it. So I guess you never know. We'll have to wait until the end. As for the East guys, though, it sucks that Martin got penalized that 7 points because he actually did claw his way up into championship contention again, but I think that might put him a little far out of reach at this point. So really it's down to Faulkner, Osborne, and still I think just kind of hanging on there is Jordan Smith. Osborne almost got Faulkner, which was crazy because he came from a lot farther back than Faulkner, and they all finished behind Smith and Martin, but Martin obviously gained a big chunk more points. So I think Smith is still hanging on. I guess Martin, you could say, is still alive, but it's pretty far with only 3 rounds to go now, I think it is. So I think we got a Faulkner-Osborne kind of battle to the line here with Smith maybe getting involved. To see, though, not too sure what we could expect when they get racing again in Minneapolis. It's going to be another Triple Crown event when we go there, so could be some more wrenches thrown in the whole plan. Should be exciting. But as for Seattle this weekend, like I said, I think it's really down to Plessinger, AC, and Savacci, and I would pick Plessinger to win Seattle just because of the track breaks down a lot, and he loves ruts. So I got Plessinger this weekend. As for the 450 class, I might go off on a tiny rant here again, but I'm not going to try to go too far with it. Again, huge credit where credit's due. Jason Anderson is doing everything a champion needs to do to win a championship. Gets caught up in a first turn crash at Indy, has to come from monumentally far back to get 4th. But my kind of little rant about this is like, I hate how the injuries to this whole championship has depleted the field enough that Anderson can pretty much finish a lap down and still get 4th. Like, at one point, he was, battling with guys, and Musquin was going through people quick enough that Musquin got within about, anywhere between 5 and 7 seconds, I think, of lapping Anderson. Like, it was pretty close at one point, and then Musquin obviously kind of backed it off because he knew he had a huge lead. But that's ridiculous. Like, 5th place getting lapped in a Supercross main event. Like, we haven't seen that since like Ricky, James, and Chad would do it practically every week. But I don't think that Muscan is like Chad Reed, James Stewart, and Ricky Carmichael's level. Like, he's good, but I'm not gonna put him on that level. And so you could understand Ricky, James, and Chad lapping up onto 5th and 4th sometimes occasionally. But Muscan, like, that just kind of goes to show how depleted the field is, and it kind of brings me back to this whole rant of like everybody getting injured. It just sucks. Like, 450 is too powerful. The tracks are built all wonky and too fast, in my opinion, and it just makes it a little bit kind of crappy because I feel like it just almost gives it to Anderson a little bit more. Again, he rode really well to get 4th. I'm not discrediting that, but I also have to say, like, if you finish 45 seconds down to the leader and get 4th, it kind of more or less emphasizes the depletedness of the field a little bit, you know, like, that's kind of crazy. So again, you can't bet against Anderson now, though. He's got a comfortable points lead. We only have 5 more rounds to go in the season, and he's putting together championship rides week in and week out. So, you know, unless something catastrophic happens, it's his to lose, and good for him because he's making it work while these other guys seem to have problems all the time. Like, again, Tomac, weird crash. I saw the video of it. He went for the quad. He did kind of an AC from practice when Cian Cirillo came up short on the quad. He did like the 2-4 out of the first section and came up a little short, and then like slow motion over the bars. Eli came up even shorter but went over the bars harder, and then like plowed in, and it looked like he maybe got the breath knocked out of him. So he sits on the hay bale for like a whole lap, and it looks like, oh, okay, Eli's night is done. But nope, gets back up, continues to set fastest laps of the race, a whole lap down. Like, he was at one point in the way of Anderson trying to come through the field a lap ahead of him. It's just like weird things that Tomac does all the time like that. You'd expect, okay, you know, big crash, not in championship contention anymore. Maybe it's time to pull off and not get hurt so you can win the outdoor title, Eli. Oh no, I'm good. I'll get up and cruise this thing home in 14th and ride really solid after I crash and knock my, you know, the wind out of myself. I don't know. It's just Tomac and his weird ways. It's so strange. Just when you think you've got him all figured out and he's the fastest man on the planet and you can't beat him, and he does weird little crashes like that, and you think, oh, maybe he's really badly hurt. Nope. Gets up, still continues to run fastest laps of the race. Like, I don't get it. But awesome for Marvin to pick up a second win. That was a very Marvin-esque track. The whoops deteriorated bad and had a single line down the middle, so he didn't have to worry about that. It was technical elsewhere. The ruts got pretty deep, and he was able to find some good lines. So definitely deserved that victory. He was taking it to Tomac, and Tomac was having to ride a little bit maybe out of his comfort zone, I guess, and that's why he crashed. But can't fault Marvin there. Just rode a solid race and pulled away, got a good gap, and won that thing no problem. And all the chaos is going on behind him with Anderson coming through the field, and then Tickle got into second. Really looked like it was going to be a Red Bull KTM 1-2, and we finally are like, hey, Brock Tickle finally, you know, showing off some of the Brock Tickle skills that he possesses. And then I think he got a little bit held up by some lappers, and that allowed Wilson to close back in. And then a lapper went wide in the corner before the Supercross triple, and so Tickle kind of cut down to avoid the lapper, but he did so as Dean Wilson was trying to, I guess, make a block pass or just show him a wheel, and they ended up like kind of T-boning, and Wilson was very apologetic about it. Like, he did not mean for it to happen. It just was kind of like incidental with Tickle cutting down and everything like that. But Tickle was obviously frustrated because it cost him a podium, and he did not finish on the podium. He finished behind Anderson in 5th, so obviously frustrated there, but it just, to me, it was incidental. I wouldn't call it dirty on Wilson. He apologized profusely, and I think they'll move on and probably stay friends, hopefully. But good for Wilson getting his first career podium. Rode really solid. It looked like he got a little tired in the middle, then kind of gathered it back up and rode solid from there. You know, finished 30 some odd seconds down from Muscan, but still rode really well and definitely deserved to finish on the podium. I believe Baggett was 4th. or third, and then Anderson fourth. So pretty good night for KTM, Husky, everybody like that. Oh no, I'm sorry, Brayton was third. Why did I think Baggett was third? Anyway, still a good night because KTM and Husky finished for the top 5, and Marvin takes the win. So that was Indianapolis in a nutshell. My synopsis of it, obviously, big talking point was the whole Martin DNF thing, or losing some points. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this commentary, and I hope you guys will download the track and try it out. It is SYS_Seattle 2018 on the PC. You can go ahead and try it out. I have no way of linking it in the description, so I can't do that. But if you go to PC and file through the tracks and you find ones that are SYS_, I am the guy who made those tracks, and then you can go ahead and try them out yourself. Why not? Give it a go. So thank you guys for watching another video here on SYS, and I hope to see you guys in all of our future videos. But I'm out. I'll see you guys in the next one.